Joining us now from London is writer and broadcaster Esther Kraku. Esther, it's great to see you again. There's certainly a lot happening in the UK. Let's start with Keir Starmer. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, his net favourability rating is his lowest to date and his joint lowest recorded by YouGov of any Prime Minister other than Liz Truss. So just 1 in 6 Britons have a favourable opinion of Keir Starmer. I wonder who they are, and there's certainly no signs of that turning around anytime soon. But Esther, this comes amid further reports of his disastrous handling of immigration. GB News is reporting that more than 65,000 asylum seekers have arrived in Britain from France during Keir Starmer's first 19 months in power. So this has surpassed Boris Johnson's 65,000 figure in almost half the amount of time. So Esther, no wonder popularity is not improving, and there certainly must be a lot of anger about this over in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, Keir Starmer's premiership has been like watching a very unfunny parody of what a prime minister should actually be. I mean, this is a man whose government has managed to rack up a dozen U-turn and broken election promises in just over the year that he's actually been prime minister and Labour has been in power. But on the small boats and immigration front, I think that's probably where he loses the most credibility, insofar as he had any credibility to begin with, because he explicitly campaigned on the adults being back in the room. He cancelled the Rwanda policy on day one, which was actually in many ways based on what the Australian policy was. And to even speak to the heart of that, the Conservative government hired Australian consultants to consult Britain to deal with this particular issue. He cancelled it on day one, squandered all the money that had been spent already and invested in it, and said he will get a handle on this. And the fact that clearly his slogan of smashing the boats probably meant something else than actually stopping them has shown that the government has lost complete and total control over this chaos. And this week in particular has made it even more ridiculous, because while he's talking about the self-determination of Greenlanders and, European countries have sent a combined total force of, wait for it, 37 soldiers to defend Greenland from Donald Trump. He's talking about the self-determination of these people, and he can't even defend the British coast from a bunch of dinghies crossing the channel. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, it's such a joke. It's interesting, though, looking at the polls, that it seems that Nigel Farage has slipped, recording his lowest net favourability rating since April last year. I want to get your thoughts on why that might be, with several MPs moving from the Conservative Party to Reform. What does this mean for the future of Reform and also the future of the Conservative Party?
Yes, I mean, it is quite concerning, but it's come off the back of, high profile conservatives like Robert Jenrick defecting to the Reform Party. And I think many core Reform voters are thinking, is the Reform Party going to be Tory light? One of the things that made them so popular out of the gate was the fact that, they are not the Conservative Party, which has basically
Yeah.
put Britain through 14 years of complete incompetence. But at the same time, the practicality of governance means you need failed Tories to learn how to not fail. And this is something that the Trump administration has shown. His first term in power, he was basically fighting against forces that he didn't know existed. And in his second term, a year in, he's really got his ducks in a row in terms of what he wants to do. And I think Nigel Farage is recognizing that reality. They have put a deadline on when they will accept Tory defectors. I believe it's on May 7th, when the local elections are going to be up, and we're anticipating a very, very bloody nose for the Labour Party across Scotland and Wales. But yes, it's understandable to see why people are jittery about this sort of thing, because people don't want the Tories and they don't want to see it reincarnated in reform.
Let's go to the biggest British family drama since Megxit. Brooklyn Beckham has released his explosive statement this week, saying that he doesn't want to reconcile with his parents. Let's go through part of the statement. Part of it says that I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. He accused his mum of not following through with the wedding dress for Nicola, his wife, and also accused his mum of humiliating him during the wedding with a dance. He writes, my mum hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, to a romantic song. And he said, in front of our 500 wedding guests, Mark Anthony called me to the stage, where in the schedule was planned to be my romantic dance with my wife, but instead my mum was waiting to dance with me, and she danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my life. What a statement there. Now, of course, David Beckham has broken his silence over this, saying that children are allowed to make mistakes. Of course, this statement from Brooklyn is wild. It goes without saying it's always sad when family problems are aired publicly. The statement seems very Meghan Markle, but I do have to say, Esther, some of the takes on the internet that I've been seeing have been pretty funny, of people just mocking the whole thing. Here's one of them. Esther, can we blame Victoria? She just wants to dance.
Yeah, girls just want to have fun, as I'm sure inspired this. Look, this whole Beckham saga is kind of giving like a Timu version of Harry and Meghan, with the whole, my family doesn't like my wife. Now, if anyone is familiar, particularly Brits are familiar with the brand Posh and Becks, we know above everything else that you can assume about that couple, they will do anything for a few quid and to maintain their reputation. I remember doing a show on Channel 4 where there were representatives of LGBTQ organizations in the UK that were outraged that David Beckham had decided to provide commentary at the Qatar World Cup, even though Qatar explicitly bans homosexuality. And I said, why is anyone surprised? They are loyal to Team Becks and Posh, and they want to make money where they can. And so I can understand. Brooklyn's assertion that the family brand comes first. We obviously know that David Beckham has in private had meltdowns over the fact that he hasn't been knighted by the royal family. That being said, I don't have enough sympathy in the day to allocate some for Brooklyn Beckham. This is a once failed amateur photographer, grew up very privileged. He also decided to try his hand at cooking professionally, and at one point recommended to his followers to cook pasta with seawater, which I'm sure no one wants chocolate flavored algae in their pasta. So this is someone that has been trying to figure out life on the backdrop of having fabulously wealthy parents. And while I do sympathize with him, I just think he should probably have taken the high road, like I would say with Harry. Just keep silent, because no one has a lot of sympathy for the kids of wildly multimillionaires, and now the husband of someone whose family is worth, I believe, in the billions of dollars.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And it will be interesting to see how much brand damage this does do to the Beckham's brand. We'll wait and see. Now, Prince Harry is in London for his lawsuit against Associated Newspapers. And Esther, he was reportedly fighting back tears while he was speaking about his wife, Meghan Markle. He was emotional, telling London's High Court that the Daily Mail made Meghan's life an absolute misery. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so this was quite an interesting show of kind of like emotional instability. He was quite like emotionally unstable the whole time, very quite emotional. He actually got into a few sort of rows with the judge, and at some point the judge said, actually multiple times, that he shouldn't burden himself by trying to do his job. And he talked about journalists that work for the Daily Mail that basically made their career out of invading his privacy, which is obviously a faux pas. Only he can invade his privacy and that of his family, apparently. And he ended his kind of spiel with the fact that the Daily Mail had made his wife's life a misery, which is when he really got emotional. So you can tell a big part of this is driven by his need to feel like he's defending his wife. Now, of course, people would think, actually, are you so concerned about privacy? Of course, no one should phone tap anyone and invade their privacy in that way. But this is also someone who wrote an execrable book, as described by many, about his family, and invaded many people's privacy without their permission. So it's kind of hard to be completely neutral on this. On the one side, you can understand Prince Harry's need for privacy and also to fight what he sees as a grave injustice. But on the other hand, apparently it's okay when he plays the game because he feels morally justified.
Always. Isn't it interesting? Esther Kraku, writer and broadcaster, thank you so much for joining us.